This is the radial artery. It arises opposite the neck of the radius, together with the ulnar artery, from the end of the brachial artery. The radial artery is covered all the way through its course in the forearm by one muscle, which is the brachioradialis. It's accompanied by the superficial radial nerve, which is the continuation of the radial nerve after giving its posterior interosseous nerve in the cubital fossa. The radial artery crosses superficial to the insertion of the pronator teres, the radial head of the flexor digitorum superficialis, and the flexor pollicis longus muscles. Lower down, it lies in front of the lower end of the radius, where its pulsations can be felt. It curves on the lateral side of the wrist joint to lie in the anatomical snuff box. This is the radial artery crossing the floor of the anatomical snuff box. It is itself crossed by the tendons of the abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, and extensor pollicis longus. These tendons form the boundaries of the anatomical snuff box. It's also crossed by the termination of the superficial radial nerve and the beginning of the cephalic vein. Observe that the artery enters the first interosseous space between the two heads of the first dorsal interosseous muscle. In the palm, it gives off the princeps pollicis artery to the thumb and the radialis indicis artery to the radial side of the index finger. It pierces the adductor pollicis to become the deep palmar arch. This is the deep palmar arch. It's formed mainly by the radial artery. It's seen piercing the adductor pollicis muscle and runs medially on the surface of the metacarpal bones. This is the adductor pollicis muscle. This is the deep branch of the ulnar nerve, seen running together with the deep palmar arch. Its termination reaches the adductor pollicis muscle. This is the beginning of the ulnar artery from the brachial artery. It runs medially deep to the superficial flexor muscles, which arise from the common flexor origin. It runs deep to the deep head of the pronator teres, which separates it from the median nerve. It gives off the ulnar recurrent artery and the common interosseous artery, which divides into anterior and posterior interosseous branches. The ulnar artery runs superficial to the flexor digitorum profundus and accompanies the ulnar nerve in the distal 2/3 of the forearm. This is the radial nerve. It gives off its posterior interosseous branch opposite the lateral epicondyle. This is the supinator muscle seen pierced by the posterior interosseous nerve. Note that the supinator and extensor carpi radialis brevis muscles are supplied by the posterior interosseous nerve before it pierces the supinator.